The best part of my life has been to have lived in the village.
It takes a village to raise a family.
Let's imagine how the children that are born today, therefore 100 years from now, will be talking about this time like we are talking about our time now. What do you imagine? What do you see?
I think they would really be dumbfounded at how basic we had things, because hopefully in 100 years there will be flying cars. I'm a big Star Trek fan, so there would be transporters, right? You would just beam.
You are really having a reservoir in your hands. What are they telling you? They are over 80, they are 90, 95. What are their preoccupations? What are they like sharing? What is going on in their mind?
I think one of the things that they share is exactly what you and I have been talking about. Keep living. Don't stop. And, you are the person who's in charge of your life and what's going to happen.
Let's flip the coin.
Okay.
If you could do something different from what you are doing today, what would you do?
I'm not one of those people that says, oh, I wish I hadn't done X, because I think everything that I have done in my life has made me who I am now.
Why do you think your client come to you for help?
Hopefully they come to me because I'm going to be honest and I'm going to give them great answers and great assistance and to help them be the best that they can be.
So let's go now.
Okay.
Please, let's start with what do you say about yourself? Then the conversation take on its own life.
So I am a cancer warrior. I am an entrepreneur. I am a wife, a friend, a volunteer, and I am somebody who absolutely loves life.
All right. That is interesting. That is the better part of the conversation. Somebody who extremely love life. You see, we need to be passionate about life, because if you're going to have a dream now, if you're going to say, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to achieve this, I want to achieve that, you need to have life first before you can do all those things, no?
Right. And of course, the tricky thing is we get caught up in the day-to-day that we forget that we need to have life and be living and enjoying whatever time we have.
That's so true. All right, now give us the privilege to be able to learn more about you, Deb. Tell me, what do you remember of your infancy growing up? What are we able to learn about that?
Well, I'm an only child. I grew up in the mountains of Colorado at an elevation of over 8,000 feet. And now here's something kind of fun. Just for my birthday, which was last week, my aunt sent me some pictures. And it
Congratulations, by the way.
Well, thank you. And the pictures included several pictures of when I was just several months old, all the way up to some more really fun pictures of when I was growing up. And I had this wild red hair even back then. It was a little more orange then. But I remember, it was a very small mountain town. In fact, my high school class only had 32 who graduated, and that was for the entire county. But I remember just having so much fun. And, we'd be on our bicycles until 10 o'clock at night. Now, I mentioned that I am an only child, so I was probably just a little bit spoiled, right? But, I really did love where I grew up. A lot of snow. We had snow pretty much year round. Even in July, it would snow. Now, it wouldn't stay, but yeah, we would have snow year round. So grew up skiing and sledding and skating and doing all of those things, but really just enjoying being a child. And I think that was one of the things that when I look at kids nowadays, I'm not sure they have some of those things.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful to say, I remember a couple of years ago, I published a book that I titled Ahmed the Stream Water.
Mm,
So I remember in that book, I was talking about my experience growing
mhm,
up in Nigeria.
mhm,
Then, of course, now it is natural that I need to talk about my culture,
mhm,
but also about my growing up in the village.
mhm,
I sort of say to people quite often that the best part of my life has been to have lived in the
mhm,
village,
mhm,
in that now I am in contact with everything that is important in my life,
mhm,
my culture, my land, the people, in the crudest form of it,
mhm.
without the filters.
Yeah.
So in this book, I was talking about being able to swim in the flood.
Mhm,
You know, when the rain falls,
mhm,
the flood that is running on the water,
mhm,
that is running on the surface
mhm,
of the earth, very dirty.
mhm.
I will call it now. But then we didn't call it dirty. It was so dirty that it is red because
Ooh.
our land in
Mhm,
Esa is red.
mhm.
So of course,
Right. It
when
had
it
the
rain
mud.
now,
Mhm,
it had a mud
mhm,
in it. It's very
mhm.
red. But as children, we don't care. We just
Yeah.
jump into it in the rain, and we
Mhm,
are rolling,
mhm,
rolling, jumping all
mhm.
around. So when I was writing this book, I sort of maybe unconsciously let it filter into it because I didn't even remember this then.
Mhm.
But one day I gave this book to an anthropologist here in Italy
Huh.
to review it.
Mhm.
And she was telling me, I can even hear the perfume in the book.
Ah.
I can hear the sound of the
Mhm,
rain because there is a lot about the rain in
mhm,
the book
mhm,
because Amen in my place in Esa
mhm,
mean water.
mm,
So Amen, I mean there is a lot of play that I did
mhm,
there. Amen there, Ede meaning river.
mhm.
So anyway, I'm not really going in detail about the book. I'm just saying that it is because you made mention of whether the children of these days
Mhm.
have fun
Right.
living.
Mhm.
That is what we need to talk about.
Right.
Do we have fun living? Because in that
Mhm.
time, we had a lot of fun. We didn't have computer. I didn't have any
Uh-oh.
video game.
We
We had fun, a lot of fun.
frozen. Oh,
Yeah,
there we're
say
back.
something
We
about
froze
that.
there for a moment.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I'm guessing you and I, in a lot of ways, had very similar upbringings in those small villages and towns. And I think one of the things that was so wonderful about that was the fact that there's a saying here in the United States, it takes a village to raise a family. And I think that's very true. I never worried about getting in trouble because I had all sorts of other people who were paying attention and would tattle on me to my parents, right? So, I think growing up in that small town or village where everybody knew everybody else and we all were kind of a big extended family. I was a very long time ago. We won't say how long ago. I mentioned my birthday last week, and we just don't talk about those numbers, right? But I am still in
But
contact.
I'm sort of curious. Why don't we talk about those numbers sometime?
Well, okay, so I just turned 63. Which considering I almost,
Congratulations.
yeah, well,
Did I
thank
say
you,
that
thank you.
before?
And considering I almost died several times when I was ill, I love those birthdays, and hopefully I have a whole bunch more of them. Sometimes I think it's a female vanity thing, right? Where we just don't want to admit our age. But the cool thing is, yeah, I'm 63, but I'm still in contact with kids that I have known since I was 5 years old. Because again, it's that small town, it's knowing everybody. Now, Facebook has obviously helped with that, but I think that really does foster that big sense of family for us.
I wouldn't really ever to able to live those kind of life, even in the life of our children,
Hmm.
because I think the computer, the internet
Hmm.
age, the jet age have taken that.
Hmm.
Now, when you give birth to a child
Hmm.
as it's growing up,
Hmm.
you give the child to the robots,
Right.
to the computer,
Yeah.
and say
Hmm.
play.
Hmm.
So the child
Hmm.
need to play and figure out things.
Hmm.
Okay, this might go different direction, the conversation, but what I'm saying is that of course, it's not that we had computer, we choose not to play with it. We
Hmm.
didn't have it, so we play with
Right.
what we have.
We
We
read
were our
books.
computer.
Yeah, we amused ourselves, we read books. I think our friendships were probably much deeper. Um, Now that said, the fact that kids now, or that everybody has access to knowledge and experiences worldwide just in the palm of their hand, I think that is absolutely phenomenal. And so yeah, there's good and bad as to what it was like when we were growing up and what it's like growing up now.
Deb, what is the full meaning of that? Is that Deborah or something? Say something more about that.
So, my full name is Deborah, and it is spelled the way that it is spelled in the Bible. So Deborah. But my mother just liked the name. That was why she named me that. My great grandfather, who lived to be 99, did not like that name. And he would say Deborah, so he would pronounce everything out right. He would say Deborah is no name for a girl. And so he called me Toodles my entire life. Now, he passed away when I was in second grade. But yeah, it's funny. I shorten it now to Deb. People who have known me for many, many years, including my husband, call me Debbie. I answer to pretty much anything, right? But when I'm being very professional, I will be Deborah. But for the most part, I like Deb. I mean, it's kind of short and simple, like I am.
All right, Deb. Now tell me something.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to imagine like about 70, 80 years from now.
Okay.
Say, let's put it 100 so that they can have
Okay.
a round
Okay.
figure. When the children of this generation are going to be amusing other people of their time, because by then we'll probably not be here.
Oh, we've frozen
So
again.
maybe that is a miracle. I'm already 46 now.
Mhm.
So that would mean I will be 146 years old. I don't want to be here by then. Okay. I will have transitioned.
And I really won't be, but
All right. But I want us to play a game in that.
Okay.
Let's imagine how the children that are born today,
Okay.
therefore 100 years
Okay.
from now, we'll be talking about this time. Like we are talking about our time now. What do you imagine? What do you see?
I think they would really be dumbfounded at how basic we had things, because hopefully in 100 years there will be flying cars. I'm a big Star Trek fan, so there would be transporters, right? You would just beam from place to place. And I think they really, we talk about people having microchips in their brains, all of those things. I would hope almost all diseases would be eradicated in 100 years. So they'll look back. I mean, like they would look back at COVID and think, what the heck did those people do? But I think just kind of like we did, I think they might also think, wow, those simpler times might have actually been better.
All right. We can only imagine that because that is many years ahead of us. We cannot be there. We know that there is no possibility for now, at least, to project that. But that is okay. It's good to play around sometimes. All right, Deb, tell me, what were those things that really that you really saw in the future as you were growing up that you were aspiring to be, and what was responsible for that?
So, I think a lot of what changed with what I want to, what I am evolving into, maybe is the easy way to put that, was when I got sick. I was diagnosed with having cancer for the first time. I've actually been diagnosed with 3 different cancers. The first diagnosis was almost 10 years ago. And it was really funny because I remember telling the doctor, I'm sorry, I don't have time for that. And she looked at me like, that's not really your choice. But I had some pretty catastrophic complications from my treatment, which there were 3 times where I almost passed away. And one I was within hours of dying. And I remember thinking, wait a minute, I get to vote in this, but obviously, I voted, and how I voted, was that I'm still here. But it really did make me think, how do I want to live my life? What do I want my legacy to be? Who do I want to be in my life? And I think that's maybe one of the more important things is, who are the people that I'm surrounding myself with? In the business world, one of the things that we say is you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so who are those people? And I kind of think of that now. Who am I spending my time with? What am I spending my time on? And some of it is still silly, and I'm sure a lot of people would look at some of the things that I do and think, what the heck is she doing? But I think it comes back to what you were saying earlier. How are we going to live? And it's it, for many people, they don't have to go through, a life-threatening type of illness or situation before they realize, this is what I want my life to be. But it really did change things for me. And one of the things that I definitely learned is how to really appreciate people and appreciate being with them and the friendships and things that I've made. I have made friends, obviously, that I never would have made if I hadn't gotten sick. And so in a lot of ways, being sick has been a blessing.
Thank you for that sharing. That is really profound. It is profound because it taught me personally.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of years ago, I had a very challenging situation.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it was believed that I would never make it. My wife had a very clearer picture of what happened because
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't see it.
Mm-hmm.
I was beyond a moment where
Mm-hmm.
I could see it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was doing my night shift at a time,
Mm-hmm.
and then something happened that I slumped.
Mm.
Only my colleague will find me the following day. So I was charged to the hospital. It was so complicated that they don't really know what was the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't know what to treat, that is when it becomes more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
you can't just treat anything, because I've never been sick, really.
Mm.
I've lived all my
Right.
life up
Mm-hmm.
until that time. I've never gone to hospital
Mm-hmm.
before, like be medically in a condition to
Mm-hmm.
be put on bed. I've never
Mm-hmm.
lie on the bed.
Mm.
I've gone there to visit, but this time
Mm-hmm.
it was really complicated.
Mm-hmm.
So I was not, without going too much in detail, because it would take time to explain.
Mm-hmm.
I was reduced medically for some time,
Mm.
which is about 14 days.
Wow.
I was in between life and death.
Mm-hmm.
So this was really challenging for me.
Mm-hmm.
But my brain was not dead because a lot of things happened that
Mm-hmm.
I still remember till date.
Mm-hmm.
When I came back, because I believe I went on a trip,
Mm.
I call the experience a second chance.
Oh, I love that.
And now everything that I do from that moment, of course, I didn't change what I have been doing.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I make reference to it in many of my books.
Mm-hmm.
I say, now that I have the second chance to be able to do what I want to do,
Mm-hmm.
how do I do it? I'm not doing anything different.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the approach.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that there is, how do I put it? Knowing that after this moment, that we are just like Shakespeare put it, we are just flickers of light sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like Shakespeare called it, like a fool who just come around to waste his time about on the stage,
Mm-hmm.
and it disappear to come no more.
Mm-hmm.
Like he didn't say like an intelligent person who have been coming around to say all sorts of beautiful things.
Mm-hmm.
Like a fool who just came to waste his time
Mm-hmm.
on the stage.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we also need to make sense out of that, in that we have the chance to be able to write a story,
Mm-hmm. Right.
to let the people who will be here know. You see, I was asking you just now, what do you imagine people that will be here 100 years from now? How would they mesmerize other people about the time that they have been part of, which is therefore 2025?
Mm-hmm.
You mean we have time to be able to write that story now?
Right.
You see, I have a signature program. I call it Own Your Story.
Oh, I love that.
In that signature program, I usually start it like this for those that are interested. I want you to imagine yourself 85 years, 90 years from now. You have done everything you needed to do, because you can't do anything anymore in 19 years or whatever it is that you are in that time. what do you want to see? What kind of story would you like to tell the people? That is very trickish
Right.
because now, when you know that, we need to go back to the time where you are right now. Now you start working towards that.
Right.
No distraction. You don't need to worry about the noise. You have set a target in time. You are moving towards that. That is all that matters now.
Right.
So that if you need to get into a train, the question is this train moving towards that direction?
Right.
Because if it is not, there is no need wasting your
Right.
time on it.
Yeah. Stay on the right train.
If that is a problem, if the problem is going to lead you there, if there are opportunities, if you find $1 million on the road, if somebody give you a magic wand today, what would you do with that? If you know where you are going, everything must lead towards there. So I think this challenge is sometimes we don't pray that it happen, but sometimes it does happen. The question is, what do we learn from that?
Right. Right. You know, I think one of the things too, and I love that you talk about the story, because that is truly what this is. And I think so many people assume that their story has already been written. And, you know, and they really don't have much choice in the matter, you know, all of those various things. And I think we all want to remember that we can rewrite that story, or maybe it hasn't even been rewritten, and so we're going to, you know, start over or do whatever. But yeah, that story has not been written. And, you know, and we are the people who are in charge of where we want that story to go. Just like that train, you know, which train are we going to get on? You know, and or are we going to get off and change? I mean, you know, because we can be going along one way and go, oh, that's not really working, and so we're going to go this way, right? But yeah, we have the free will to be able to make those decisions. Now, you know, I know that for a lot of people, their faith is also a big part of this, and I think that does play into it. And whatever you are, you know, that higher power, fate, faith, whatever you call it, you know, that's great, but you know, but I think that goes along with, we are in charge and we tell our story, and we say where that story is going to go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Faith, spirituality, whatever we want to call it, it must lead to our freedom. If it
Right.
doesn't, then we don't need it.
Right.
And freedom is able to decide that in 100 years, I want to see this. So now I am going to look at a mountain. I will be writing a story on the mountain. This is what I want. First, I need to construct the leg. Now I will construct the other leg. Now a feature is coming. People don't see it yet, but you saw it because you know where you are going. So little by little, you are carving the story into a rock.
Right. You know, and that's not to say that we don't have goals and dreams and plans, because we do. I think we have to have those. You know, and I talk about that a lot with people who I'm dealing with who have cancer, is what are your goals? And for some, I mean, it really is get through the day. You know, but you know, there's a gentleman that I work with, and he has young grandchildren, and he also has cancer. And so his goals, see those granddaughters graduate from high school, graduate from college, then get married and have children. And so those are the goals that he is living toward. You know, so yeah, we do have to plan for our future. We don't want to just, you know, kind of let it happen. But again, we can change those. You know, we can, you know, how many times, and you may have talked with people who, you know, they were going to be a millionaire, or they were going to own 5 businesses or whatever, and then they decided maybe that's not what they want to do. You know, and so yeah, we have to plan for the future, but we have to also know that we are in control of that.
That's lovely. That's lovely. The ability to rewrite the story. That's interesting. Okay, now I am curious, Deb. What do you really do for your clients in your work? What do you do for people?
So I have my own marketing agency. It's called Wise Women Communications, and right now we are really focusing on working with senior living communities, um, and so the places where people go to live when they're over 60, places like that, um, and and I work with about excuse me 15 of those communities, and I do their Facebook posts for them. So they will send me pictures of things that they're doing throughout the day, and then I post them on Facebook. And so we're showing that they are active, healthy, and happy. And the primary reason for this is because their loved ones, so their children, their grandchildren, their friends, want to know that they are happy, healthy, and active. And it is just incredible because we have some residents that are over 100 years old. And to see them still doing what they can do is absolutely incredible. And to see the love that they still have, the level of activity, I mean, all of those things. We did a post for Valentine's Day, which was, 10 days, 11 days ago here in the States. And so they wrote out their suggestions for having a great life, based on love. And a couple of them, it was kind of funny. Several of them said, don't get married, which I thought was very funny. I mean, these were people in their 80s saying that. But they also said things like, always always tell the person that you love them. So their words of wisdom were just so inspirational, and I love being able to work with these people.
All right. This is very interesting. It is very interesting because now you're working with people who have nothing to lose.
Mm-hmm.
So they tell you the truth.
Right.
If they want
I
to,
think.
of course,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, you are really having a reservoir in your hands. What
Mm-hmm.
are they telling you? They are over 80, they are 90, 95.
Mm-hmm.
What are their preoccupations? What are they like sharing? What is going on in their mind?
Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that they share is exactly what you and I have been talking about. Keep living. Don't stop. And you know, you are the person who's in charge of your life and what's going to happen. And I love seeing that from them because they have lived such a life. I mean, like, there are quite a few that are veterans, and we even have some World War II veterans, and so some of them talk about loving your country, but they all are still about how are they going to live their life.
Mm. All right. Now, let's talk about another aspect of it. Let's flip the coin.
Okay.
What are they complaining about? What is their worry about their whole life? Like, all right, let me leave it like
Mm-hmm.
that. What are they worried
Mm-hmm.
about? What are they complaining about their life? Maybe the choices that they have made.
Mm-hmm. I think in many cases it's that they didn't do something that they thought they should have. And whether it's travel or even just, taking time to sit and read books. I think many people are, and it doesn't really matter the age, but I think so many are not happy with, maybe they spent too much time working as opposed to spending time with family, and maybe putting their priorities on the wrong thing, and so I think that's, and I, one of the things that I tell people that I work with is don't put stuff off. We always think, oh, in 10 years I'll do such and such, or whatever it is. And I tell people, if at all possible, do it now. Because we don't know what the future holds, right? And I don't want to be the person that, as about the past, thinking, oh, if only I had done X. I think that the thing is, we all need to be doing those things because we don't want to have regrets, as we're getting older and as we're passing.
All right. Thank incredibly beautiful. The way you put it, it's incredibly beautiful. But maybe I should ask you like this, Deb. Why are you doing this thing?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure.
All right. I want to ask the question like this.
Okay.
If you could do something else different from what you are doing today, what would
Mhm.
you do?
I'm not one of those people that says, "Oh, I wish I hadn't done X," because I think everything that I have done in my life has made me who I am now, good and bad, right? And there were definitely some choices that you look back on and think, well, that was not the best thing to do. But I think, it probably would, I would say, tell people that we appreciate them more, that we love them more. My mother passed away not quite a year ago, and she and I did not really have a good relationship. And I think part of that might be me. Well, I know part of it is me. But one of the things, we always talked on the phone every week, no matter what, we talked on the phone, and we always ended every conversation with, "I love you." And I think, that's one of the things that we need to really do more of, is tell people we love them, tell people we appreciate them, because I know that there are people that, I never said that to, that I wish I would have. And maybe they're gone, maybe they've passed, or maybe they're just not in my life any longer. So I think, we need to tell people that. I just like I so appreciate being on your podcast. I am truly honored, and I think this is so much fun, and it is just so special for me to be able to be here and to get to know you.
Thank you so much for that, Deb. All right, because you are working with senior,
Hmm.
uh, I'm sort of just having a tuition to ask the question like this. Why do you think it is important to not regret in these days when maybe you are 1995, you are always going to be happy about the choices that you have made.
Hmm.
Of course, it's never going to happen that you are going to be happy with all the choices
Right.
that you have
Hmm.
made, except maybe you have been a robot. If you have been a human being, you are going to make a lot of mistakes,
Hmm.
maybe make few good ones.
Hmm.
So you now rejoice over the good ones. So
Hmm.
let's say you are happy.
Hmm.
But the question is, why do you think is important to be happier or to be rejoicing over the decision that you have made at this time
Hmm.
than regret?
I think they're a combination. I think it is very important to be happy, and and yeah, we're going to have regrets, and I think the issue is that we don't keep remembering those regrets. Or maybe that whatever it is, we deal with it and we go on. We forgive the people who we might need to forgive. I think it is very important to be happy in whatever way it is. We know from studies that happiness helps with our physical and our mental health, right? And I mean, laughter, we have a saying here in the United States, laughter is the best medicine. And I think that's very true. We uh, laughter, I mean, there are physical things that happen in our body when we laugh, but happier people tend to live longer. They just when they get sick, they deal with it differently. One of the things I go to doctors a lot. I am, I still have to deal with a lot dealing with my cancer diagnosis. And so one of my goals is that I make my medical care providers, whether it's a doctor, a nurse, whoever, that I make them laugh, because they have really, really hard jobs. They are truly dealing with life and death. And so can I make them laugh? One of my doctors, that she always looks forward to my appointments because she enjoys spending time with me. How many doctors say that about a patient, right? But yeah, I think happiness, being happy, and again, it is a choice. I am not always happy. There are times where I'm cranky. I am not happy at the world. I have physical limitations now that I did not have 10 years ago. And so there are times where I'm just mad. But then it is my choice to say, okay, now it's time to move on and it's time to be happy again. And maybe it takes, watching something on TV, or I live in Atlanta and we're starting to have spring here, and so flowers are blooming, right? Go out and truly smell the flowers. But yeah, it is your choice to be happy, or it is your choice to dwell on the negatives.
All right. That's a good advice to take home. You are putting the ball in their courts, or those who are listening, Meaning you are the one on the driver's seat.
Right.
So drive any way you want to go, whichever way you want to.
Right. And we're not ignoring the bad things. And I think that is the important thing to remember, is those bad things are going to happen, and so we have them. And the important thing is to deal with them and then to go on.
Absolutely. And how do you usually deal with them? Do you ignore them or just pretend that they are not there?
It depends on what it is. Some of them I just ignore and I'm like, okay, whatever. Is it something that I have control of? If I have control over it, then that's very different. If it's something that I don't have control of, well, then I might be able to ignore it or pretend that it's not there. Obviously, it depends on what it is. There are things that we definitely should not ignore. Our health is one of those. Our mental health, our physical health, we should not ignore if we think there's something that needs attending to with those. Relationships, all of those things. But yeah, if I don't really have any control over it, then I'm not going to spend too much time thinking about it.
All right. Let me put a question to you like this, Deb. Why do you think your client come to you for help?
Hopefully they come to me because I'm going to be honest and I'm going to give them great answers and great assistance and to help them be the best that they can be.
When you say be the best or maybe get a result from you, what kind of best? What kind of result? How do you measure that?
That's interesting because, say, for my clients that I'm working with on their social media, there are numbers, right? How many people liked this post? And to me, I'm not a big fan of those numbers because we don't always know what is going on. And I think maybe it's at the end of the day that we're thinking we did the best that we could. Could we improve it? Sure. We can always make improvements. Nobody's perfect and nothing that we do is perfect. And so we can always make improvements and learn from the things that went wrong. But I think it's about, how can we be, happy at the end of the day that we did do the best that we could do that day.
All right, now let's look at you, Deb, looking at your own numbers, whether it is the sales, the number of people that commented or or, okay, those vanity metrics, no?
Right.
What make you happy about that?
Well, I'm human. I like to see bigger numbers, right? But I'm also a marketing person. And one of the things that I talk to people about is, what are the right numbers? You might have, for example, Facebook. You might have 10,000 friends on Facebook. But if 9,900 of them will never interact with you, will never even like your post, whatever, then they don't really count. And so we need to figure out who the right people are and be dealing with them. I mean, and that truly is what I work with people when we're working with them on marketing, because we'll ask them, who is your potential client? And they will say everybody. Well, that's not true. There is no product that I can think of that every single person would want to buy or use. Starbucks is a very, they know who wants their coffee. Walmart knows who's going to buy their products. And they don't even market to anybody else. They might hear the messaging, right? But yeah, it's all about finding the right people. So it is quality is more important than quantity.
All right, that is very interesting. I like the analogy you were giving, or maybe somebody having a lot of numbers on Facebook, but maybe 99% of them are never going to buy or react. Now, tell me, how do you know the right number or the right audience so that you can market specifically to those audience? How do you figure this out?
Sometimes it's trial and error, and I think we need to determine who we want to be working with, and then develop our product or our service or whatever it is for them, and again, if we're doing it right, they will come to us. And so I think it is very important to figure that out. I've used this analogy before where, I was working with someone, and she, we asked target audience was, and she sold skincare products, right? Lotion. And she said, well, everybody, because everybody has skin, which, okay, she's right about that. Everybody does have skin. But when we needed to think about somebody to refer to her, we couldn't come up with anything. And so when she decided that her market was going to be 16-year-old boys who had acne, every single person she talked to knew somebody that they could refer to her, because she had that target market down where we could understand it. If she just said, hey, I have this lotion, we all went, okay. But when she said, do you know a teenage boy who has acne? We all knew that. Now we might know a teenage girl, so okay, that could work too. But the tighter you can get your market, the more likely you are to get the right one, and to get those clients or customers. And again, it has to be somebody you want to like working with. We all want to, work with, the people who maybe are going to pay us the most or whatever. Those might not be the right people that we want to work with.
All right. I want you to help me help somebody.
Okay.
Who probably is new in business and yet doesn't know how to figure out the ideal client, you will call it. Tell this individual some of the things that they should do. First, second, third step.
First actually think about, who do you want to work with? What is your product or your service going to serve? One of the things that we all talk about in marketing is, what is their pain? And I like to turn that around. What is their pleasure? How are you going to help them be happier, right? We've been talking about that, to live a better life, as opposed to what is their pain point? What is their pleasure? So sit down and think about that. And then, obviously assess your skills. What is it that you can provide that might be able to do that? And then you do have to figure out, okay, is this something that is even, something people would do or buy? We've all seen examples of somebody that they have an idea for a great product and it never sells. Well, maybe it wasn't a great product to start with, and because it's kind of like, our kids, right? We all think our kids are the greatest kids in the world and that everybody should love them. So when we have a product or a service, we all think it's great and that everybody should love it. Well, we might be the only one who really thinks it's great and loves it.
How do we know this?
Talk to people. That's once you kind of figured out who you might want to work with, ask them, hey, I've been thinking about doing this. Is it something you would be interested in? Now you're not pitching to them to buy it. You just kind of want their assistance, and I mean, there's certainly more formal ways to do it. There's surveys, there's focus groups, all of those things, but those kind of, might come a little bit further down. But just talk to people, go to networking meetings, attend them in person or online, and just say, hey, I've been thinking about this. What do you think about it? Sometimes it does take working with, say, a business coach who's going to help you, kind of refine that. I have a business coach, and I love the advice that I get from her. Do I always pay attention to it? No, but she has made me think about it. And so, I think we need to get out of our own heads and talk to other people about it. And it might be that you're talking to your competitors and finding out what they like, what they don't like. We've all, even if you're just reading their websites and things like that, we need to actually get out there and see and talk with people and find out what's going on.
Thank you so much, Debbie. It has been a pleasure talking with you and all the important information that you've been sharing with us. I really appreciate it.
Oh,
Now,
I
people that want
truly
to
have been
connect,
delighted.
thank you. People that want to connect with you, how can they reach you? And what is your final message here to conclude this conversation?
Sure. The easy way is my website is www.debkrier.com. Excuse me. I also have an initiative that I started to help those who are on a cancer journey. And that website is www.tryingnottoDie.live. You can also find me on social.
Love that.
Because we're living, right? And so anyone who's on a cancer journey, I encourage to go there. And you can also find me on social, on LinkedIn and on Facebook. I'm not on any of the other platforms because, I would get so sidetracked that I would never get anything done. So I just focus on LinkedIn and Facebook. And just search for Deb Krier. I'm going to be the only wacky redhead that you find.
Thank you so much for that. So is there any other thing you would like to say to conclude, or maybe something I didn't ask you or anything like that?
It comes back to and again, thank you so much for this opportunity. It has been a delight to get to know you, Obehi. I said your name wrong. Obehi. But I thank you so much for this opportunity. It has been fabulous. I would tell people exactly what we've been talking about. Are you happy? How are you living your life? And if you're not happy with those answers, sit down and think about why not and what can you do to change it.
That's lovely. That is the best way to end this conversation. I'm not even going to add anything to it. I just want to say thank you so much, Deb. It has been a pleasure here. And of course, I ask all of you that have listened to this end of this conversation to let us know in the comment section below. It doesn't cost anything and it's very simple. Just let us know if you have gained any value from here. And Deb is going to be very happy to learn about it. If you have any question, you can ask her.
Yes.
She's available and she will respond to your question.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, Deb. It has been a pleasure here.
Thank you so much.